the state of evangelical Christianity today. Go.
And I've said this often, I'll say it one more time. The state of evangelical Christianity today, I think, is worse, literally worse, than medieval Roman Catholicism.
That's brutal.
If the church needed a reformation in Luther's time, we need one more desperately now. I mean, he was dealing with Tetzel, one guy who went through Germany raising money on false pretenses, really, for the enrichment of a religious leader, the Pope. We've got a lineup of 30 people like that on any given charismatic television network who sell holy water or prayer cloths or just beg for your money, or they sell survival food or whatever. It's the same kind of thing. They're ripping people off, and they're doing it consciously and knowingly for their own self-aggrandizement. And these are people who would self-identify as Protestants, and they are worse than Tetzel was.
Okay. Forget that stream for a moment. Let's talk mainstream evangelical Christianity.
I'm not sure what's mainstream anymore. Would the mainstream be reflected in Christianity Today magazine? I think that's what most people think, that this is mainstream evangelicalism, Christianity Today. They advertised themselves for years as the house organ of evangelicalism. And yet you could read the pages of Christianity Today for 2 years, and I don't think you'd ever find any clear-cut doctrinal perspective that is definitively evangelical. It's not an evangelical magazine anymore.
The definitive would be a critique.
Right. If they said anything about evangelicalism, it would be critical. And that is, in my view, what mainstream, if you look at the big organizations, they're all just big agglomerations of all kinds of different perspectives. There really isn't any clear-cut evangelical spokesperson anymore. In my youth, it would have been Billy Graham. He was the...
But see, that's why, I've heard you say this before, that we need a modern-day reformation. Now, obviously, God would have to orchestrate that. It seems to me, though, with all of the voices that have so many platforms these days, uneducated, untrained, they just get popular because they did something, they made it into the news, they were on a TV show, whatever it is. How in the world could something like that even happen these days?
Yeah, in fact, it's usually pastors, church leaders are judged by the size of audience they can accumulate. So you've got Joel Osteen, that's who the world thinks of as the chief representative, or Andy Stanley or somebody like that. And for the most part, none of these are men who have any kind of devotion to the Word of God, real true devotion to the Word of God. They're doing whatever they can to garner a big audience, and that's their goal. That is not susceptible to reformation. That needs to die, and it will, because church history is like a series of cycles. You can see what's going to happen by knowing what happened before. And the big popular movements of religion always die pretty quickly within a generation or two.
Let's hope so. However, liberalism has been alive and well, manifested in various forms, well, frankly, since the inception of the church. Recently, read a Grace Gem. If you don't get Grace Gems, sign up. They're free, gracegems.org. Received one from one of my favorite preachers, one of the last of the great Puritans, J.C. Friel. He described jellyfish pastors and jellyfish sermons, and the result being jellyfish worshipers. When did he write his rather shocking accusation of the state of the church in his day? Maybe you're thinking, J.C., like 2012? No, 1900. These types of shenanigans have been going on for a long time, and the result is jellyfish Christians. Well, there's no place like home for conflict. Got any? We've got a resource on biblical reconciliation that will help your relationship be better than it was before the conflict. It's outstanding, this resource, and many more at wretched.org.